And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of New Earth TV Live. Thank you all for being here. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. I hope you're going to have an amazing weekend as well, too. So, I'm looking forward to today's broadcast. I'm going to be bringing in Adronis here very shortly, as he'll be bringing in a transmission of his own. Then we're going to be doing some Q&A, and we're going to go back into segment base, right? So, transmission, Q&A, and then healing requests. I'm just going to be taking 3 healing requests all together for today, and then we'll end the broadcast with a group healing practice as well too. So before we go ahead and get started, we're going to move into some announcements. So first announcement is with AETHERX. Again, the promo code is XMES22 and getting 22% off of your order. So that is available now. That runs up until December 25th. The source flashlights are going to be available at my associate warehouse, because I do have an associate warehouse located in Ontario, Canada, and they are going to be receiving the flashlights on Monday. And so the pre-orders for the flashlights will be available up until Monday, end of day. So again, there's a pre-order discount on the flashlights right now. They're at $77. Their regular price is $88. So that pre-order sale will be available up until the end of day on Monday. And then on Tuesday, we'll be sending out all of the flashlight orders as well too. I just sold out of them so incredibly fast. I had like 500 quantity. And they just flew out the door so incredibly fast, because they work incredibly well. That is no doubt the most successful product of AETHERX right now is the source flashlights. Okay, so again, I do have the pre-order available. I have another 500 quantity coming, and that is going to be at my associate warehouse in Ontario. And so they're going to be sending out a lot of the orders effectively on Tuesday next week. So, excuse me, I have a dry throat today. So they'll be sending it out to Tuesday next week. So again, if you do want to grab a source flashlight, that is available right now as a pre-order. Not to mention we have the source laser pens, which are kind of like the miniature flashlights as well too. The Taurus bed kits are also available. We also have some new products that are coming in as well too, and I'm going to be doing a AETHERX live stream this Sunday, and I'm going to be giving away 2 source laser pens as well. And you can go to the youtube.com/@AETHERX store. That is the YouTube channel for AETHERX, and be part of the AETHERX live stream on Sunday, and that is going to be happening at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So at 10 a.m. Pacific, I'll be on the AETHERX live stream talking about new updates, talking about the new AETHERX 2.0 plan, and of course new updates on the products, and of course the giveaway. So I'm looking forward to that, plus a Q&A from the audience. So that will be on Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Okay, moving on. So this is my girlfriend Brianne's website, trinityhomehealing.com. As you can see here, the link there is trinityhomehealing.com. She's starting to get some healing sessions, all right? But she is, again, doing healing sessions by donation. But of course, she also offers her feng shui, and she's very, very good at it. So down here, you can see the 4 options that you have. So this is here for the distance healing. Powerful and compassionate support from a distance. Receive our distant Reiki healing and enjoy the benefits of energy healing. Although what she does is a little bit more beyond Reiki, right? She calls it Reiki healing, but it is actually a lot more. She's doing a lot more with resonant dowsing, like what I've taught her as well too. She had a really incredible healing session with one of her clients just recently, where she was able to see 2 giant blue beings around them as well too. So she's very clairvoyant. She's very visual. She may pick those things up with you. She may be able to see what your guides are or what particular beings are around you. I don't really have that capability. She does. So again, her distance healing is by donation. Okay, so you can basically pay any amount of your choosing. So you would just go to her page here at trinityhomehealing.com. You would just click on the donate button, and that would take you directly to Stripe. Okay, so she does offer Stripe with her purchases. Okay, so that is trinityhomehealing.com. She's just starting to get her business together. Feng shui is also very important. It is very important for you guys to be healing your environment at the same time that you guys are healing yourself. And this is exactly what I'm teaching my students in the AETHERX Academy, is not only working with personal healing, but you also want to work to heal your environment. And feng shui is an ancient practice that helps to heal your environment. If your environment is in shambles, you are going to get sick. You are going to get ill, right? It's also going to lead to money problems. It's going to lead to relationship problems. It's going to lead to career problems, right? So all of these things need to be looked at. And so with a lot of other feng shui specialists out there, Brienne has very affordable rates. So I suggest you guys look into that. Feng shui, very important. Environmental healing, extremely important, as I've been teaching my students in the academy, because our entire house here is basically healed up, and that's very important. You need a good healing space, okay? So check her out at trinityhomehealing.com. As I mentioned yesterday, the Signposts is moving to Rumble on January 4th, 2024. So I'm doing this because this will give me the opportunity to speak much more on topics that YouTube is considered to basically censor, right? So again, we're going to go to Rumble. It's going to be live and uncensored. The first episode is happening on January 4th, 2024, exact same time as the usual Thursdays, okay? So next week, with the next Signposts, I'll be having a direct link to the Rumble channel, so you guys can subscribe there and follow me along there on the Signposts. So I'm looking forward to that. Fridays, Newark TV Live will still be here on YouTube, okay? So it's just the Signposts that is moving over to Rumble, effective January 4th. Private sessions, distance healing sessions, 3-question private email sessions, and full body source healing sessions. So like I said, the full body source healing sessions, I'm basically booked up to about mid-February, right? I got so many sessions that I'm doing. So this is exactly why I'm getting Brienne to get some work, because there's still some people that want to do some distance healing with me. Even with distance healings, it's a few weeks of wait, because I still got a lot of people. So again, if you guys don't want to wait, if you want to get healing right away, you go to Brienne, okay? You go to trinityhomehealing.com, go to her, she'll do some distance healing with you. She's getting some free time now, okay? So again, if you guys require healing, and I'm only doing 3 healing requests today through the webcast, okay? So it's not a lot. So again, if you don't want to wait for me, go to trinityhomehealing.com, go to Brienne. Brienne will help you with distance healing, okay? And it's by donation as well too. So again, distance healing sessions, 3-question private email sessions, and of course the nutrition scan is available as an add-on for the full body scan. It is also a standalone session as well too. So if you do want to schedule it in, you don't mind waiting a little bit, then again you can go to newearthteachings.com for that. Okay, and finally, everything on the New Earth Teachings channel is backed up onto Odyssey, odyssey.com/@newearthteachings. All right, so let's go ahead and get into today's broadcast. So hello, everybody. Welcome. And I'm just going to go ahead and take a moment to bring Adronis in. Once he comes through, he'll give a brief introduction, and then he's going to talk about any particular topic that he feels he would like to share with all of you. Yeah, last week he was talking about working with the chakras, doing a healing exercise as well. So we'll see exactly what he has to discuss for this week. Sometimes I don't even know what he's going to discuss. I just have to bring him in, and then I'm getting ideas. Okay, so I'll go ahead and bring him in, and we'll get started. Here we go. Fix my mat first. Okay, there we go. Terra Soul Star CDS Adronis. We are here. At this time, we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast through your internet collective consciousness. What we'd like all of you to do at this time is simply allow yourselves to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all of the information that we have to share. Also understand that all of the information that we shall provide today is simply that of our perspective, our point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and souls. We want to educate you a little bit more pertaining to what is termed as the watchers of your planet. Now, these watchers come in many different shapes and sizes, and they have different types of orientations with themselves. But you have to understand that the world that you are living upon has all of these different forms of pockets to it, all of these different forms of dimensions to itself, where there are beings that are basically observing you constantly, and that are basically shrouded behind dimensional veils through what you would refer to as dimensional pockets. Now, there are some of you that are developing yourself tremendously, and developing yourself to such a degree where you may start to see through some of these particular dimensional pockets or these dimensional veils. It is not really uncommon that much anymore for a certain human being to awaken in the morning and all of a sudden see another particular type of being that is directly in front of her but not sharing the exact same space. So even if you were to go up into that dimensional veil where you see this other being and try to touch them, you would not be able to touch them. It would be like passing through a ghost, trying to run your hands through, and you would not be able to physically touch them, but you would be able to physically see them. Now, sometimes they are aware that you are seeing them, and sometimes they are not. Now, basically, in regards to these different dimensional veils, really what this represents are vibrational band calibrations. They have simply aligned themselves and adjusted themselves to a different type of vibrational band that is not operating on the same frequency as your own physical plane. However, as you start to align yourself and attune yourself into different dimensions, which can happen just through your own natural growth, as you start to transform, as you start to metamorphosize within, you may notice that this does occur. All of a sudden you see beings. And now they may notice that they are seeing you or that you are seeing them, and they may actually start to tune themselves and then disappear from sight. This again is all part of vibrational band technology. It is actually quite technological. It is something that your people will have down the road a little bit more further. But again, it all represents the idea of working together with vibrational technology, with vibrational frequency, with vibrational bands. It's really no more different than the analogy of you tuning a radio dial and then being able to tune into that particular station. Where they operate in that sense, they have much more of a wider berth of what they can see pertaining to the earth plane. So they may see you, they may see another over here as well too. And they are looking at these different realms simultaneously. It's exactly what we've told you pertaining to the analogy, that if you have a strip of film and you're looking up at all these frames at the same time. Well, this is exactly what's happening here. We could also liken it to the nature of the honeycomb analogy, where again you are looking at a multitude of different cells that contain events within them. So that is what they are able to do. And many of these particular watchers behind the scenes are, again, surveyors. Some of them can be monitors. Some of them can also be experimenters, although certain other experimenters have left this earth plane. And many of these experimenters, as Brad has also termed them, as disruptors, have been infiltrated and taken away. All right. Now, some of them, in that sense, can also relate to certain forms of, shall we say, base, lustful encounters as well, too. A lot of the old watchers of old would basically initiate themselves into certain forms of sexual practices pertaining to human beings. It is not uncommon, as it were in the past, that you would basically have invaders in your dreams that would basically perform certain forms of lustful acts. and you would dismiss it as a particular dream, whereas rather it would be much more of an interception. And they would tune themselves into your dream, because again, it just represents a vibrational wavelength, like the radial dial. And so many of these particular disruptors, as they have been termed, have been infiltrated, and many of them are actually leaving the planet. Not all of them, but many of them are. There is, as you would say, a crackdown happening with many of these particular forms of watchers or disruptors that have again been, in that sense, imposing themselves into other people's experiences. Now, they can also move themselves into people. They can actually vibrationally align themselves so that they can look exactly like a human being on your planet. And you may discover that they may do some form of bizarre acts. You may notice in that sense that they may just start to look at you quite intently as they are walking down the street seeing you. You may in that sense feel like they are watching you from afar from behind. This is also something that can take place. You see, they can slip in and slip out of their own pocket dimensions. It's all based upon the idea of their orientation of being, of their preferences, of their personality in that way. Although there are many different rules that are meant to be followed pertaining to watchers who are observing humanity on the planet. Now, this is not what we would refer to quite commonly as incognito extraterrestrials. That is of a different matter. They are not slipping in and out through pocket dimensions. These are watchers. Again, as Brad has termed them, looking to them into the nature as disruptors. And these are the ones who are basically in violation of the ground rules, we will say. And basically you would understand that there are police that do police the earth when there are watchers who are violating these particular forms of acts. So that when they are getting caught in the act, there will be, shall we say, police that will come in and take them off this plane, as they will therefore lose the privilege of being a watcher. And some of them will basically be taken into other dimensions to be dealt with. So this is something very important to realize, that if you are waking up and that you are seeing others who you think it's almost an impossibility, because I feel like this person is just hovering in the sky, what's going on here? Well, you're looking through a pocket dimension. You're looking at another. It could represent someone who looks very much like you, or it could represent something that does not look like you at all. You can also look at the idea where they are moving at incredible speeds. This again signifies the nature of the watcher. The watchers can also have opportunities to intervene if it is appropriate to do so, saving people from events in that sense that basically have been negotiated with so that a new path of opportunity could open up for them. So this is what you would refer to as watchers. They again come in many different shapes and sizes and orientations and personality. Again, it is very much a nature of contrast. But you are not going crazy if you are able to see through a veil, if you are able to see them. That is representing the nature of the watchers that are here on this planet. All right? We thank you very much for the opportunity of enabling us to share this information with you today. I am Adronis of Sirius, and we will now take a moment to go into your question and answer period at this time. Thank you very much. Okay, well, that was quite fascinating. Because yes, I have talked about beings that I referred to as disruptors in the past as well too, and they would basically meddle with people. They would play psychic games with people. They would basically try and implant thoughts into people's heads, making them much more angry than they appear to be, right? So there's a lot of that stuff that's been going around, right? There's a lot of watchers on the planet, and that's probably a good way to put them, is looking at the watchers. And of course, there's the ancient watchers of the earth, and this goes back into like the book of Enoch, right? Where you basically had watchers who basically abandoned their post and wanted to come down to Earth and make love to the women of the planet, right? So basically kings would offer up their daughters in exchange for some beneficial gift that the watchers would give them. They would basically pass on knowledge about how to make weapons or how to look into astrology or any of these other particular forms. That would be payment. And then basically they would offer up their daughters to them. They would impregnate the daughters, and that would give birth to what we would know as the Nephilim, right? So basically they would start off as little babies, and then tremendously they would start to grow, and they would become like these abominable beings, going anywhere from 20, 30, 50, maybe 100 feet tall. There are some claims, I think in the Book of Enoch, where they're saying that they're being like 2,000 kilometers tall, but I'm not too sure about that, because you do have gravitation here on the planet, so I'm not too sure if that's exaggeration or what. But that, again, is looking back into the ancient watchers. That's really what started this whole mess. That is what basically brought humanity into duality, was through watcher interference, where they were lusting after the women of the earth and would basically come down and start offering these things. And it goes back to like the Greek gods, even some of the Hindu gods also portray the nature of the watchers as well too, where they would offer mankind this sacred knowledge that they were not supposed to have. It was too soon for them. And again, these watchers would basically be going to get caught, and they would be taken away. And they would basically be imprisoned in these particular types of dimensional realms. And basically they just started to, I guess you could say, lose themselves. They started to become very, very corrupt. And this is basically what I've also termed in the past when I talked about years ago pertaining to soul rebellions, right? The soul rebels. And that basically represents a lot of the watchers, basically ones who would rebel against God. And that would be the closest thing to what you would understand as a devil, right? So the devil would be what you would know as a rogue watcher or a soul rebel, right? And basically that's what a lot of these secret societies are all about, because they are the ones that basically received knowledge from these watchers. Their lineages would go back to kings and emperors, where they would actually start receiving a lot of this knowledge from them, and they would worship them as gods, right? And so that is exactly what you would know as Satan. That is exactly the devil. It's rogue watchers. It's the soul rebellions, right? And that's really what they have attached themselves to, because as humanity starts to do this, you know, those particular presences are basically just feeding off the energy of humanity so that they can break free from these dimensions and try to come back into the physical plane. That's really their intention. Their goal is to try and break free of their bonds being stranded in these particular dimensional planes that look very hellish and nasty and gross and all of that. And that is also mentioned in the Book of Enoch as well too, that they'd basically be taken into like these underworlds, into these inner pockets of the earth, and they're like dimensional hell spaces and so forth. So that's where it really all comes from, guys. It really just comes from the nature of the watchers, or again, the soul rebels, or again, devils, demonics, right? There's all kinds of different names for them altogether. So again, very good information there from Adronis. We can always talk about that later. Maybe I'll do another video on it down the road as well too. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the chat here. So hello everybody, welcome. So we do have a few donation questions. Like I said, I'm going to do Q&A first, and then we're going to get into healing near closer to the end of the broadcast. Okay, so if you guys do have healing requests, again, I always take the people who do donations first, right? Those ones are always first in line. So I do have a question here from IM, and IM says, "Leave the World Behind movie about apocalyptic events, linked movie Civil War, out in April 24th. Will this movie agenda fail badly? And is it related to the government shutdown that you spoke of earlier?" I haven't personally seen this movie. I haven't seen a trailer for it or anything of that nature, so I can't really tell you, not until I'm able to see it. I haven't been able to watch a lot of stuff, guys. I've just been so busy running AETHERX and running newer teachings. I don't watch a lot of these things altogether. But I kind of get an idea about what they're trying to talk about with apocalyptic events. You guys have to be very, very careful with fear porn, right? Because there's a lot of these things pertaining to... and I've talked about this for years as well too, right? There's a lot of talk of where eventually California was supposed to be broken off from the continent, because they were basically trying to activate nuclear devices around the fault lines of California and blow that part up, and then having California break off from the continent and basically sink into the ocean. The same thing in regards to prophecies pertaining to New York City, that they're basically trying to destroy New York and all that. So they have tried to do all these things in the past, but they have been cosmically denied. So all I can really say, I am, pertaining to your question, is that a lot of these catastrophic events have been trying to happen for many, many years, even going back decades as well too. But they have not been allowed to happen. Many of them have been averted. Even when we're looking at COVID, if we're looking at the entire COVID agenda, that was something that is extremely watered down, right? It was something that was going to be a lot more worse than what it played itself out to be, right? You're basically looking at complete and total shutdown where people couldn't even really step outside. Complete and total shutdown where injections were going to be going door to door, right, to inject you. It was going to be about 100 times worse than what it panned itself out to be. And of course, it could only last a certain amount of time, and then it fizzles out. Well, this is again because of intervention, right? Intervention is working with us. I'm not just talking about extraterrestrials. I'm talking about something that is very much deeply on a spiritual level that is happening here on the planet. Now, many people in that sense may not believe it, but like I said, when you're noticing that a lot of these catastrophic events that have been foretold, that were supposed to happen on the earth have not happened, that is the proof itself of letting you know that intervention is happening. There is a cleanup that is happening that is so profound and so powerful and so vast, we just can't wrap our heads around it. So again, there's going to be movies, there's going to be shows, they're going to be talking about apocalyptic events. I'm not too sure if they're talking about hoax alien invasion or if they're talking about meteorites trying to hit the planet, or again, trying to usher in, the NWO or anything of that nature, right? It depends. They basically can talk about a lot of apocalyptic events, but basically what they do, a lot of these shows, is they try to get the people behind it. And all the people are really doing is, ugh, I want nothing to do with that. I'm not going to see the world like that. I want nothing to do with it. I'm going to work to avert that. And so the thought is already there. A lot of these particular shows are, again, programs, right? They are basically manifestations in a bottle. They're trying to bring about manifestations. Like I said, there's no such thing as predictions. There's only manifestation. And I don't know anybody else that talks about it like that, right? But you never really have predictions. You get a feeling, a sensing of manifestations to come. But if there's enough energy that is blocking out that manifestation, it will remain in the ethers because now there's something new that is taking its place that is much more beneficial, right? It may be kind of intense at first, but it starts to smooth itself out and we realize, oh, well, here we go. Now we've ended COVID, or here we go. Now we've ended any particular possibility of a volcano trying to create a tsunami to wipe out the east coast of North America. Right, so there's a lot of these particular things that are happening, and again, it's a lot of it is interventionists. Right, there's a lot of intervention behind the scenes where they are working with an incredible amount of technology and willpower to help avert a lot of these disasters. But mostly, it's because of us. We know that the common people, the everyday folk, are very much heart-centered. We really are. We're really, really good people when you look at it down. Nobody really wants to kill anybody. Nobody really wants to wish anybody a terrible hell upon their life. They want to bring compassion. They want to bring love. They want to bring support and help and assistance to people. That's our natural way. And the good news is the majority of the planet is in that vibration. With the majority of the planet in that vibration, even though we've been exposed to so many fear agendas, propaganda agendas, fears about all these upcoming apocalyptic events and so forth, there's still so much love in our heart. There's still so much compassion and joy and support and help and assistance that we want to offer others. And that makes a difference. Remember, if you guys were tuning into me yesterday on the signpost when I was talking about all you really need to do is just contribute a thought, right? Your thought to say, I'm going to move in this direction instead. Just by you doing that, you've made a difference. Just the idea of you truly putting your heart towards an intention and just watching that intention unfold, whether you're sitting on your couch or whether you're going out and you're joining rallies or whatever it may be, you've made a difference. Your thought has made a difference. That's what we call thought action, right? And that's all it really needs to do. That's all we really need to do pertaining to this whole situation, is that we align ourselves through common thinking. We align ourselves with a thought that is so powerful because we put so much of our willpower and our intention behind it. That's what's going to make a difference. That's exactly why everything is being unearthed right now. That is exactly why there is such a significant transformation, a significant bout of change taking place upon the planet, because we've done that. Okay? If we didn't do that, yeah, we probably would be in like an Orwellian dystopian type of nightmare right now. But we're not, right? They're trying to get that out, but they can't. There's this gigantic wall that is basically protected by the collective consciousness, and they can't penetrate it. The thoughts are getting too large. That represents an opposition to that Orwellian dystopian nightmare. It's like a gigantic wall, and they're trying to break through it. So, okay, let's try and manipulate some minds. Let's try and weaken this wall. They try to, and it's like the wall gets stronger, and it gets stronger, and it gets thicker, and it gets brighter, and it gets bigger. They say, what the hell do we have to do here? My God, we can't get any of this stuff out here because we're trying to piss these people off. We're trying to get them in fear. We're trying to control them. But this wall just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger and stronger. What the hell is going on? And that's their mentality. They can't figure out why they can't pull off a lot of their plans because it's not up to them. They don't realize that this is all part of a divine stitching. This is all part of divine order. They are not in charge. This is not their world. Does not matter how many strings they pull. Does not matter how many people they try to manipulate. Does not matter what they try to feed you pertaining to this fear-based garbage. They're not in charge. It's not their world. It's not your world, right? It is the world of the divine. It is through divine order. It is through divine providence. It is through the divine way that makes these things happen the way they are. And again, there's leeway in regards to seeing what these people are doing so that you can see for yourself, well, this is what the government represents. Well, this is what our authority represents. Well, this is what all of our branches of the human systems represent that we've put upon this planet. It's all garbage. It's all wrong. That's exactly it. So they allow certain types of leeways. They allow somewhat of a birth for some of these things to be shown. And again, it may impact small regions of the planet. But it's only doing that to make a message, to get a message out to humanity and saying, this is what your government's doing. This is what your military is doing. This is what your authorities are doing. This is what your systems are about. Do you see it now? Yes, we do. So what are you going to do about it? Well, we're going to come together and we're going to change. You're damn right you're going to change. That's the message. Okay? It's exactly why all of this stuff is happening. There are just concentrated areas of the planet where some of these things are happening that are quite intense, that are quite malefic, no doubt, but they are being shown so that the entire world is watching, and that's the benefit of the internet. You're able to tune into all these different places to find out exactly what's happening so that you're growing and expanding. Maybe you're horrified and in fear at first, but then you come out of it and you start to bring about resolution. And there's so much of that happening upon the planet. So there's a lot of these concentrated areas that are creating these ripples. It's like these little pebbles being thrown into the pond and seeing these big ripples coming about. And we're noticing that and we're changing ourselves. So going back into your question, I am, about apocalyptic events, that's exactly why they haven't happened. Okay? So, and I don't see anything apocalyptic. There is nothing that is going to lead to a mass loss of life, and I can pretty much guarantee that, right? I would say that's 99.9% behind that, okay? So this is why I've never really subscribed to the idea of apocalyptic events, but in a way, it's kind of a good thing because people are seeing all these horrible things that are trying to manifest, and then they're turning the other way. Like I said, thought action is what's preventing those apocalyptic events from happening. And it's happened so many times. I wish I could just go back into the past and just create a list. Okay, guys, this was supposed to happen and it didn't. This was supposed to happen and it didn't. This was supposed to happen and it didn't. Because I've said that so many times with different things. I mean, it's all kept here on my channel. But there's so many things that I've said that, you know, we're looking to happen but haven't happened. And that's because of us, mainly. Okay? There's some interventions that are helping to manipulate a lot of that energy to bring us much more into a harmonious path, but really humanity, the collective consciousness, is responsible for that. So this again is why if there are apocalyptic films or anything of that nature coming out, it's kind of a good thing because we're seeing exactly how we're choosing better, right? So very good question, Ian. Thank you very much for that. You were talking about the government shutdown that you spoke of earlier. Well, that was something that represents a manifestation. Okay, there is a manifestation, not a prediction. Okay, A manifestation, I don't really have a timeline for it. It feels like there could be a good chance for it to come in 2024, but I can't sketch that out in granite. Okay, so that's not something that's chiseled in granite. It's something that represents a possibility. It really shows when it's the appropriate time for it to show, right? So I try not to put dates on things. It's the same thing with the ATM situation, right? So there's the ATM situation, there's the government shutdown, right? Basically, this is what's happening in Canada, this is what's going to happen in the United States, and it'll probably go from country to country. There will be temporary government shutdowns while there's a cleanup happening. I think that will happen a lot more when the militaries start moving in, because the Canadian and American militaries are basically working together and they're basically coordinating with one another. Should we move in right now? It's like I said with that old analogy, that here's the chessboard and here's the king, right? And then you have the opposing side just surrounding the king, and the king is cornered, right? But they don't pounce on the king yet. So come on, I want you to make a stupid move. Go ahead and make a really dumb move, and then we'll move in, okay? That's exactly what's happening right now. We really don't know when they're going to pounce. Like I said, 2024 represents the start of an action era. It could happen then. It could be a little bit later on. We just don't know, right? It's just other events need to unfold first before all of that takes place. So a government shutdown would be the result of military activity that is basically enforcing that upon governments where senates are empty, where parliament buildings are empty, where all government workers are basically dismissed from going to their day-to-day routines because they're going to start doing some major changes. That might move in when there's new leadership. It's hard to say. We don't know exactly when that's going to happen. But it feels like it's getting closer. And that's all I can really share about that. Okay? So thank you for your question. Okay, let's go down to different, again, I'm just getting donation-based questions here first, guys. So this one is from Babito7. Babito7 says, and thank you for your donation, Babito. Adronis, how would encountering an extraterrestrial being for the first time affect us? Ooh. That's going to be kind of a broad question, but we'll see what we can do here, okay? Let's go ahead and take a look. Here we go. We thank you very much, Babito7, for your question. Well, let's look at it this way. Are you intimidated in any way in regards to how Brad is connecting with us and how we're having an interaction with you? We would say probably not. No, because Brad's here, and even though he's connecting with Adronis, we don't feel like the full beingness of Adronis is here. And you may be somewhat correct, because again, this is a linking, this is a connection that's taking place. It is no more different than what you would know as a type of vibrational telephone that's taking place. So it is a very, very different circumstance if you were to be in the presence of a being like us. All right, and we'll just utilize that as an analogy. We're not going to look into all these other different beings and so forth. But let's just say that you came face to face with us in the closest way that we could say physicality could bring. You couldn't handle it. And we mean that very, very literally. The majority of you could not handle it. And we're not saying this to boast, and we're not saying, oh, our energy is so much greater than yours. It's not about that. We reside within such a different plane that your mind simply couldn't perceive it. It's just completely imperceivable. And we could not come all the way down to your physical plane. We can have some instances of ourselves showing in certain ways, but the whole idea is that you would need to move yourself up into a certain calibrating level to where we would be able to meet you to a certain degree, to where, let's say, some particular type of presence, a small portion of it, would be available to you. You would not be able to handle it. All right? And simply because of what we represent. Because in that sense, to where we reside, it is such a different world compared to yours. It operates on such a different frequency compared to yours. So even if you tried to do your best to move yourself up, and then we tried to bring ourselves down and connect with you in that particular way, odds are you would go through some type of psychotic shock. All right? Not because you're afraid, but because your body is not calibrated to handle that kind of energy. Your body is not calibrated to observe that type of reality to which we represent. And this is why we come down in very, very diluted ways. The way that we are talking through Brad right now is a very light dilution. We very much dilute our energy to go through him so that there's a blending taking place. So it still represents Brad here, mixed together with ours. You could say it's a Brad and Adronis soup. It's the soup of Bradronis. All right? And that is our dilution. And that dilution is acceptable to many of you. And this is why we've continued to interact with you, because we don't think any of you have entered states of psychotic shock when we've come through. Though there have been times to where we have come through in your past and people have almost fallen out of their chairs. Because the energy can be very, very intense. Because we can step our energies up tremendously high, or we can bring them down a little bit lower and dilute it into what you see here pertaining to transmission. But again, if you were having some type of personal, face-to-face interaction with us, you simply couldn't handle it. All right? And again, like we said, it has nothing to do with you being anxious. It's nothing to do with you being afraid. All right? It's just the idea that your energy that resides throughout your entire body, everything that represents your matrix, is not calibrated to receive what we are. It's just not possible. All right? So this again is why there is a dilution that comes together. And others who may also be having transmissions with entities similar to us are also experiencing something similar. There is a great dilution that is taking place, and you're really only getting a very, very small fragment of our presence, to put it in that way, to interact with us. Because again, if we come into your space in some shape, way, or form, it would basically overload your body. And basically this is what would lead to a type of psychosis, because your matrix that represents your own energy body simply couldn't handle it. All right? We do not reside within your physical plane. We do not even reside within your own physical universe. We reside within our own universe. And so we are connecting together. Connecting these two worlds together, establishing a rainbow bridge, establishing a link to where we are greatly diluting ourselves and coming forward in this particular way, interacting in this way through a conduit to which Brad himself represents. So that's the idea. As much as we would love to say, oh, you'll have a wonderful, splendid time with us if you move up into our dimension, we would be lying to you. And we don't ever lie to you. All right? So again, it would certainly bring a major shock to your system if in some particular way you were able to have a face-to-face, physicalized in some degree, interaction with ourselves, to where the greater nature of our presence was shown. You just couldn't handle it because your matrix is not calibrated to that effect at this time. All right? We thank you very much for your question. Okay. So I have had similar questions like that before as well too, right? Because Adronis is an extremely powerful energy. Even when I'm connecting with him, I'm only getting, this much. It's not very much. It's like a drop from the ocean altogether, because his energy is so incredibly powerful, because he resides in dimensions that are just filled with light, right? It's just filled with pure energy. And, here in physicality, we have a lot of matter. We have a lot of condensing here. So it really is like taking a fish out of water and saying, okay, go ahead and adapt to the land. Couldn't do it, right? The fish is going to croak. Same thing with us. If we take that net and try to scoop us out of this physical reality and taking yourself into this gigantic, higher spiritual dimension, you're going to probably even combust, because our matrix is not calibrated to that. So that is basically the difference. Now, there are other physical beings that are here as well, too, with us. And like I said, Adronis has talked about incognito extraterrestrials. He's been talking about that since about 2010, 2011, right? Very first time he talked about it was when I was in East LA. I was in an art gallery, and I was doing a channeling for everybody there. And that's the very first time I remember Adronis was bringing up incognito extraterrestrials. And he says, even if you walk the streets of LA, you will find many different incognito extraterrestrials that are walking all around you, right? And It was quite interesting. So a lot of them are walking to and fro throughout this entire planet. Like I said, it's kind of different between the Watchers and the Incognitos. Okay, Incognitos are basically off-worlders that have decided to have some particular type of presence on the Earth. Maybe they are working here temporarily, but they're also doing other particular forms of work that is not, as you would say, of a day-to-day task. But there are a lot of incognito ETs, and I've stumbled upon ones who certainly fit that category. I've also met others in that sense who also feel that they've stumbled upon others in that sense who also fit that category. What they're not really going to do is say, oh, hey, how's it going, Babito? My real name is Drax, and I'm from Sirius A. No. Okay, they're not going to be so open and obvious in that way, right? They can kind of tell that you're sensing something about them, but they'll just kind of play along in regards to what you're saying. Oh, what are you sensing with? Oh, you feel like you're this. Oh, okay, well, that's a very interesting point. Are you going to admit it? No, I got to go. See you later. So that's really what it is. The whole idea of them being incognito is that they have to be incognito. Okay, so you have beings that are walking this planet that look very much like us, and you have beings that really do not look like us who have been able to put on a camouflage so that they do look like us. Okay, and there are just different types of arrays of beings. There are ones that are very loving and happy and want to help humanity. There's ones here that just pop into human form. They'll offer you assistance for a little bit, and then they'll pop back out again, right? This is basically what we refer to as basically created beings. They basically manifest a body. They house that body for a short amount of time. They pass on a message. They're out of here, okay? There's also, again, ourselves. There's versions of ourselves that come here on this planet, because this is our astral body, and we're basically utilizing the Earth as a platform to our dreams. This is why you see in certain videos where people are just walking down the street and all of a sudden they're disappearing. Yeah, that's an astral body, right? That's a dreamcaster. That's someone who's basically just waking up from a dream and their body disappears. And that happens quite a lot. We're seeing quite a lot of videos on TikTok and social media about people like that. They're just walking down the street and then they notice that they're kind of being spotted, and then they run, and then all of a sudden they disappear. They vanish. Okay? That's an astral body. Simple as that. So there's a lot of things that are happening on this planet that we do not realize, but again, it's marvelous with what's happening on this planet as well too. And like I said, only a handful of you guys are here, so only a handful of you are really going to know about this stuff. That you pass on, great. But like I said, it's a big discussion that needs to happen a lot more down the road. Okay, so Babito, thank you for your question. Okay, Nikki, I see that you have a healing request here, so I'll get back to you shortly once we get into healing time. Okay, I think that's it for the... Okay, I got one from EUM. Oh, sorry, there are some more down here. Okay, so there's one here from EUM 142. Question for Adronis: what will Cabal's last stand look like? Brad often talks about culminating events before checkmate happens. Okay, well, we can give certain forms of discussion with that. I've never really gotten a definite answer for that, but let's see what Adronis says about what the last stand of the Cabal will look like. Okay, let's take a look. We thank you very much, EUM142, for your question pertaining to, as you term it, the Cabal's last stand. Well, basically, in that sense, when you notice that those who you have seen be responsible for a great deal of this chaos are taken out of the picture, that's a step in the right direction. When you're noticing that a lot of these particular agencies and authorities who have been attempting to put these wrenches in the works who are surrounding protests, and in that sense attempting to censor a lot of people, when you're starting to see all that drop away, then you're moving into the right direction. When you're noticing, again, as Brad has talked about, the nature of a government shutdown, where you're noticing that the governments of the world are basically being vacated so that something new can take its place, then you're moving into the right direction. When you're noticing that countries, states, provinces are starting to go independent, then you're moving in the right direction. So these are hints to letting you know not exactly the culmination, but sequences that are leading into something that will be even grander. We cannot tell you what that culminating event is. You have to see it for yourself. Is there a culminating event? There certainly is. And that is what you would call the event. All right? But again, it follows sequences of events that lead up into a culminating event. But we cannot tell you what that culminating event is. Some of you may say it's 3 days of darkness, possibly. Some of you may say it's a gigantic worldwide blackout where no more technology pertaining to electromagnetism can be allowed to happen, possibly. We can't tell you. That culmination needs to speak for itself. But when that culminating event takes place, it is the benchmark point from that time forward that is leading humanity into a new era. You do not have long to wait for that culminating event to happen. But again, you need to see these sequences of events. You have to see much in regards to what you term as the cabal being completely and totally dismantled. And that is what is going to happen. And it will be very much a different world, but it is not going to be, as you would say, publicized so strongly for all eyes to see. It is something that is going to slowly slip away, and just new systems are going to start taking its place. So you're not really going to have a bunch of people on a stage rounding up all of these particular leaders and say, okay, everyone, these are the guys that's responsible for making all of your lives hell. It's not going to happen. All right? So this is something that is much more of a silent transmission, a silent transition, we will say, that is bringing you from one point to another. It's going to basically fade away. There are certain things that you will notice. You will see, again, certain leaders being removed from power. You will see certain authority figures being removed from their positions. But again, everything will start to focus a lot more on the transitional flux of what's taking place, rather than feeling that, oh, we need to have this big expose, and there needs to be some sort of big press conference, and we need to find out every single leader, every single authority figure, every single world leader that has been here that's been responsible. No, you're not going to get that. So, as much as you would love to get that, you're not. Some of you may figure it out, again, as you start to work together, as you say, through the alternative streams, through the grassroots, you'll start to figure that out, and that's probably about the best answer you're going to get. If you're looking externally. If you look within, you're going to be able to find out everything that's happening. All right? So again, yes, there is a culminating event that you have termed as the event. All right? That will take place. That's definite. That is unchangeable. You will experience the event. All of you. Every single one of you, whether you are alive or not. And we want to emphasize that. Which means even if you leave the body, you're still going to experience the event. Every single one of you is going to. Whether you are on this planet or not. All of you will experience it. And that is exactly the type of event this is. This is not something that is just a planetary event. This is something that actually expands itself galactically. This is something that leaves an imprint universally. That's how big the event is. It is something that does propagate itself into physicality. It is something that does propagate itself astrally. It is something that does propagate itself through an expansion of different dimensions. It is a folding that is taking place. And that's what's happening. And again, it translates into a culmination point for your planet and for all other planets in this star system. And for many other worlds throughout your galaxy, the event is a galactic and universal phenomenon. That's what's taking place. But it will manifest itself in an appropriate way for your planet. And that is where everything is changing. We mean that quite literally. It is changing on a cosmic level. It's like having a new graph that is being imbued as an unfolding is taking place. This is not just something that is happening for dear little Earth. It's happening everywhere. It's happening all over. That's the event. All right? So we can really not describe to you what that will be, because it is important for you to know. And every soul that has ever graced the earth of this world will feel it, whether they are here or not in a body. Right? That is something for you to deeply contemplate. All right? Thank you very much for your question. Okay. Wow. I have not had Adronis give that kind of detail to the event, so that's very, very good. So, like I said, as time progresses, we get a little bit more information that comes down the pipe. So that was very, very interesting. So people, even in that sense, who are discarnate, who are basically in these other realms, are going to feel the event as well, too. There's nobody in that sense who can escape it. So that's going to be very interesting. It's I really can't say too much of what that would represent, is that we're basically looking at something like an unfolding of singularity. And so that is going to be very, very interesting. However that manifests, we can't say. All right. So EUM 142, great question there. Great job. Thank you for that. Okay. This one here is from George. I got a donation from you, George. Thank you, but I don't think I see a question from you, unless you're just offering a donation. But, okay. Here's one from 555. It says Golden Rule. Golden Rule says, when will flying cars be made available for the public? They are starting to make those, right? They are starting to make, but they're not as what we would consider to be anti-gravitational. Anti-gravitational vehicles probably won't be happening to around the 2030s or 2040s, probably around there. Basically what they're going to try to do right now is they're going to use like kind of like the drone-like technology, right, with the chopper blades and all that stuff. That will be the equivalent of their flying cars. But if we're looking at something that works together with vibrational technology is something that's going to be a little bit more profound as we get into the 2030s and 2040s, around that particular time. It could even stretch into the 2050s as well too. But usually around that, it's usually around the next decade where we'll start to see the benchmark of things like that happening. Again, they do already exist, but again, it needs to happen at an appropriate time. We can't just throw all this stuff onto the surface of the earth and saying, hey guys, here's a transporter technology, here's portal technology. Here's the idea where I can open one portal here, and then there's another portal here. So if you're in Vancouver, BC, and you can step in, and here you are now in Victoria, Australia, just like that. Okay? You can't just go ahead and reveal like that. Everything needs to follow a continuity, because like I said, guys, this is not our world. Okay? This is the world of the divine. Everything is seated, everything is woven, everything is etched together in a particular way for humanity to transcend. Because the reason why we don't get this explosion of technology is because this is exactly what happened in our ancient past. Humanity was given too much power, too much technology, too soon. This is exactly what happened to Atlantis. Right? Atlantis was all part of the example of humans that basically came from an indigenous background and basically started to become technocrats. And they were becoming technocratic about everything, and they were obsessing over power. And this beautiful continent that once resided within the Atlantic led to the complete and total destruction of itself, because they became consumed by too much power too soon. And the Watchers certainly don't want that to happen again, right? So the Watchers, basically you could say the cosmic administrators, these are the higher ups, right? That's not something that they want to repeat again. So yes, we'll enable certain things to happen, we'll allow certain things to come out at certain times, but not to basically stretch the mark, where now human beings on a major level are playing with scalar technology, okay? Because you can blow up planets like that, okay? So, and working together with other particular, like sound vibration, right? Using sound weapons, because that can rip apart different dimensions. So we don't want them having anything like that. We don't want them to have these things that would try to instigate war when they're still very much in a war-like mentality with themselves. They're still fighting with each other. They're still dropping bombs. They're still wanting to kill each other. So we cannot let them have scalar. We cannot let them have sound vibrational technology. We can't let them have FTL drives that would take them off the planet and try to go to other worlds and try to conquer them. That is exactly what we don't want. So we're putting them in a bubble. And this bubble is, again, an etching pertaining to vibrational instances that will come apart at certain points to get an idea of where humanity can continue to advance. But this is exactly why we've had this kind of slow technological aspect. I mean, we're still using fossil fuels, right? We're still using telephone wires and all these things. And this is what we consider to be primitive technology. And that's been something with us for well over a century. Okay, so there has been a slowing down, and sometimes there will be a little bit of a loosening of the etching as we continue to progress. But you're not going to go into vibrational technology. Like I said, even what I'm doing with AETHERX right now is basically child's play compared to what a lot of these inventions will be, right? Working together with anti-gravitational vehicles and all that sense, right? And anti-gravitational vehicles, if improperly designed, can disrupt the space-time manifold and time-space. Right? So you're basically looking at the idea of opening of dimensional veils. You got to be careful with that too. So humanity is still immature, right? There needs to be a little bit more maturity. We're so okay, they're starting to clean up their planet. They're starting to work with peace with themselves. They're starting to harmonize with each other. Now such technologies can start to come out. Okay? And like I said, 2030, 2040, 2050, around there, I feel like we will start making some good steps forward, but I can't even guarantee those dates. Like again, I'm not about dates, but basically flying cars would be made primarily through like what we'd see with drone technology, right? Working together with chopper blades and stuff like that. That's really what the flying cars will be at this point. A lot of people would love to see the anti-grav technology come out. We're just not ready for that as a collective yet. Some of us in small groups may see that, but not as a collective. We're still too immature for that. And humanity needs to grow up a little bit more before something like that can be mainstream. Okay? Thank you for your question. Okay, how are we on time? So I think we'll probably take about 2 or so more questions, and then we're going to get into healing, and then we'll do a group healing for the day. Okay, there's George again. Thank you, George. George says, can these new scalar technologies be used for healing? There are certain scalar devices that are already available publicly, but they're quite expensive. There's certain like scalar wands. They look like little handheld devices that you can use, and you can use certain scalar as well too. And those are fine because those are very, very small intensity, right? I'm talking about things that would be like the size of towers, right? If you look like at a Wardenclyffe tower, for example, of what Nikola Tesla was doing, building a gigantic toroidal field technology, that's something a little more intense. But something that's handheld in that sense, that's completely fine, right? But even that's not even being admitted by mainstream medical science. Okay, so you basically have to look at the alternative streams. I can say that a lot of Russian research is working a lot more with scalar technology, probably than any other country. It'd probably be Russia and it'd probably be Germany. Okay, Japan may start to look in that a little bit later, but I think Russia is kind of like the first and foremost country right now that's working a lot more with scalar. Okay, so yes, I've seen those devices as well too, that are scalar devices as well too. They're very small, they're compact, they're handheld, and they can do tremendous benefit because they're calibrated to heal, right? All scalar is, my friends, is prana. It's concentrated prana. That's all it is, right? So you're basically concentrating the field around certain areas, right? So AETHERX basically would be a type of scalar as well too. With what you guys have, if you guys have already purchased the source flashlight, okay, that's a type of scalar because that works with the source center vibration. It works with the light and it's designed to heal, okay? The source flashlight is scalar. The laser pen is scalar, okay? A couple other things that I'm bringing out that'll be electronics devices are scalar. Even the Taurus bed kit is scalar, okay? Scalar is just another word for prana, but it's concentrated prana. It's like coherent prana, and that's what's happening, okay? So yes, there are certain devices, including like what I have with AETHERX, that complement the nature of scalar technology, okay? Not really a wave, because scalar is not a wave, it's a life force. It's life force prana, okay? Waves are the effects of things, not the cause, okay? The source, again, source center vibration, well, that's the cause, okay? Waves are just, not really emanations, but they are perturbations. That's the word I'm looking for. They are perturbations from that source. A lot of people talk about waves and say, well, waves of what? What are you talking about? Okay? You're not looking at scalar waves. There's no such thing as scalar waves. You're looking at scalar perturbations from the source of the ether. The ether, the source, that's the cause. Okay? So a lot of people are confused about that. Maybe it's another video I have to do down the road. Chalk it up to a big list of videos that I'm trying to have time to make. All right. Okay, so anyways, George, thank you for your question. Okay. I think I got all of the donation-based questions. Okay, so we'll probably take about 2 more non-donation-based questions, and we're going to move on to healing. Okay. Okay, so like I said, I do see Nikki's request here for healing, so I'll be getting to her first and foremost when we get into healing here in just a few minutes. Okay, I'm just going to scroll down the list here real quick and see if I can pick up some two really good questions I think that would be beneficial for people to hear. Okay, Big Cat says, hello Adronis, is it true that there can only be one avatar of God on the earth at one time, like Mahar Baba said? Thanks. Okay, one moment. We thank you very much for your question. Now, from what you are saying, on a linear level, yes. All right. You will notice that where there have been throughout your history the mention of particular avatars that would be what you would term as the personality consciousness of Godhead. All right. So what you would understand as Krishna, or again, what you would understand as Jesus, or what you would understand as Buddha. Again, all of these particular figures that come throughout history, because that's the lesson. The lesson is the nature of one. It is the nature that the Godhead, that the God source is one, and that it will only incarnate during certain periods to where it is appropriate, to where these particular divine teachings need to be shared. Now, some of you may ask right now, in this moment, is there an avatar Godhead on the planet? No, there is not. Will there be another avatar Godhead on this planet at some point? Yes, there will. But not yet. And that's what we can share about it. All right? Thank you very much. Okay. Very good. Very good. Short and sweet, to the point. So thank you, Big Cat, for your question about that. Okay, so let's see if we can take one or two more questions before we get into healing. Okay. Just give me a moment, guys. I'm just scrolling down the list here. Okay. Okay, I think we're going to take one more question. We're going to get into healing, so we're running pretty close on time here. So let me just see here. I'm just kind of scrolling down the list. I'm kind of scanning real quick here, guys, something I think would be good for everybody to benefit from. That's really what I'm looking for, right? It's something that'll benefit many. Okay, I think we'll end with more on the Watchers. This is from Anna Schilling. Anna says, so where are the Watchers from? Are they from the light? Okay, so let me go ahead and bring Adronis in for that, and he'll talk a little bit more about the Watchers. Okay, one moment. We thank you very much for your question. Now, understand that Watchers themselves do have different forms of significances to them. You have basically what you would know as, shall we say, the ground crew Watchers. Many of them in that sense are what you would term as extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional. Then you have planetary Watchers in that sense. Many of these planetary Watchers in that sense are assigned specific duties. Now, they are not particularly extraterrestrial if we're looking at much more of the higher administration, representing the nature of the Watchers. They are basically from what you would term as from the seeds of God come. All right? This is what you have termed throughout your literature of the ancient past as the Anunnaki or the Elohim in that particular way. The Watchers, again, the seers. There are many different terms pertaining to these beings. Again, the Greeks would refer to them as gods. The Sumerians would refer to them as gods. The Hindu would refer to them as gods, when in fact they are Watchers. All right? And they do not come from any particular dimension that you would be familiar with. Again, as we've stated, these are seeds of God. And they come from realms that are almost imperceivable for you to understand. They are what you would know as immortal beings, which means they do not really, in that sense, incarnate, except for those in that sense who are in violation, who basically formed bodies and went down and, as you would say, basically fornicated with many women upon the earth to therefore produce the Nephilim. All right? But these are basically beings. We would not really term them as angels because that would not be appropriate. Creator gods could be appropriate, but we would say much more the seeds of God. They are, again, the high Watchers. They are the administrators. They are the governors of life in its entirety. And this is why we say it may be very challenging for you to understand because your language is so limited. But that is primarily what they represent. If you're looking at the sun, that is the nurturer of all life, then therefore that is what you can understand as the seed of God. Looking at the sun, the provider, the source that brings life to life that will continue to flourish through its rays, through its presence. Well, that would be the seed of the Watchers. All right? So they do not represent what you would term, and we're talking about the highest degree here, relating to the Watchers. They do not represent extraterrestrials. They do not represent extra-dimensional beings. They do not represent anything that you would be familiar with through your culture. They are far beyond that. And the ancients that did know of these beings really could not perceive how to discuss exactly what they are. They would talk to them through stories, trying to utilize the idea of allegories to give you an indication about what they represented. But they would often say that these are gods from heaven, that these are gods that have helped to bring life upon the planet, and that is true. But they are seeds of the God source. That's the idea. All right? We thank you very much. Okay, very good. Thank you guys for all of your questions. We're now going to go ahead and move on into healing now. So we're going to take 3 volunteers for healing requests. So Nikki is the very first one, as she is a donator. So Nikki wrote here, "Hi Brad, I'm asking for a healing for my friend's mom, Debbie. She has stage 4 cancer that has metastasized in her liver and vertebrae. They have given her 2 months to a year to live based on medication." Okay. So if any of you want to also offer any healing assistance for Nikki's friend Debbie here in regards to her stage 4 cancer, feel free to share your love, send your love as well too, as I will be doing. And we'll go ahead and we'll get started. Let me think. I think I'm going to use my other pendulum here. Okay. So just give me a moment as I get myself aligned. And again, Nikki, if you want to offer healing assistance to Debbie, that would be great as well. And again, there's power in people who are doing this in multitudes, right? Because we can take that energy and that can be concentrated and that can bring great benefit to the person who needs it. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to connect to Debbie through Nikki's awareness. Okay, got a connection there. So I'll go ahead and begin working with Debbie. Okay, deep breath in, deep breath out. So Nikki, work has been done for Debbie, but I feel I have to tell you something, okay? This is not from my own perspective or anything like that, okay? This is just what I'm hearing. Debbie's soul is longing for home, okay? And I just want you to know that, okay? So even though healing is being shared with her, it really is just all part of where Debbie feels that she wants to be, okay? And that's all that I was getting. I was getting that instance as I was doing the session. Debbie's soul longs for home, okay? So that's something very important that you may want to pass on to your friend, okay? And I know family likes to hold on, grasping any chance they get to the physical body of the loved one. But this is why I say, guys, it's not our world, okay? We can certainly offer assistance to Debbie, but her soul is longing for home, okay? She basically wants to go home, and I feel like this may be her departure. So again, healing has been sent, but ultimately Spirit makes a decision whether that healing is being utilized or whether Debbie can indeed long for home and return back home, okay? So I just want you to know that that's what I was receiving when I was doing the transmission, okay? Thank you very much, Nikki. Blessings to you. Okay, so I don't think I have any other donation-based healing requests. If I'm looking at the board, maybe I do. I'll just look down here. Nope, okay. So I'm just going to start off at the very top of the chat and just work my way down to 2 more volunteers. Okay, and so the first one I see here. Okay, so this one here is from Marianne Galik. I'm not too sure if I'm pronouncing your name right. I think I'll just call you Mary for short, if that's okay. Can I kindly request a healing for my acute apathy? I have been burned and scorched too many times in my youth and adulthood. I lack drive and passion for living, okay? So really, in Mary, what we can do here is just bringing you love, right? Just bringing you love, saturating you a lot more with the feeling of that light, okay? Now, I can tell you, in that sense, I have basically gone through apathy myself in the past when I was younger, okay? And one of the best things I've found to help with that is just breathing, right? Just doing your breath work, okay? You don't have to reflect on anything. You don't have to worry about trying to give yourself forgiveness or anything of that nature. All I want you to do is just breathe, right? So just with your 2 feet placed firmly on the floor, taking a deep breath in through your nose, leaning forward a little bit, curving the spine, exhaling. And then just repeating that about 4 or 5 times per day, okay? That is going to do wonders. That is really going to help. And if you do want to take it to the next level, we would do something like prana transmission technique, okay? So that is on my YouTube channel. That is on my playlists, right? Prana transmission technique. I've done a recent update on my channel, right? You can just type in on the search bar of YouTube, Brad Johnson, prana transmission technique, okay? And you'll see the new one. And basically that's the next level up from breathing, okay? And all you're doing is you're just taking everything that represents that defeatism, everything that represents that burning and scorching of yourself, and you're just putting it right here, okay? And all we're doing here is we're just going Om, right to the center of the palm, and doing that a 2nd time, and doing that a 3rd time, and then checking in with yourself. How am I feeling, okay? And then I can do it again another 3 times, and then again another 3 times, right? So if I'm working with breathing and I want to step up to the next level and I want to start doing some Om chanting, and maybe I want to take it to the next level, which would be the abidance method, right? The process to ending all suffering, the 6 steps, okay? That's the next level up. And I can now start working together with that as well too. I start recognizing these things that I have. I start working with my breath work, right? I start softening that. I start going deeper into the Om chanting. I start moving into inquiry. As I work with inquiry, I'm softening things more and more and more until I come into breakthrough, okay? So that's something that can also help you in your own time, Marie, okay? But I'll do some work on you right now, just to bring, again, lots of love and compassion, the light of Spirit into your soul. And the most important thing is that you're just opening yourself up to receive, right? So imagining your heart like a blossoming flower. It's just opening up. Hold your hands out just like this, okay? And receive. You can also do it like this as well too, okay? This is also receiving transmission, okay? So I will do that for you now, Marie. Here we go. Okay, so Marie, if you're open and receiving, you will feel that. Okay, you will feel that coming into you. You will feel that saturating your entire being, and all that's doing is just giving you the encouragement and the inspiration to heal yourself, because that's really what it takes. Okay, thank you very much for your request. Okay, guys, we're going to do one more healing request. Just as I go down the list, I think I had a donation. Let me just double check here. Okay, Crystal Princess here has a healing request. Thank you, I got your donation. So Crystal Princess says, healing request for my cousin Carrie in Canada. Had a major stroke and is in the hospital trying to heal. Okay, so if everybody else wants to offer healing assistance to Crystal Princess's cousin Carrie in Canada with her stroke, you can feel free to join in as well too. Okay, so Crystal Princess, I'll be tuning into Carrie through your energy to tune into her vibrational wavelength. And then we'll begin some healing for her, helping her out with her stroke. Okay, so I'll be mainly working on her brain and nervous system and vertebrae as well too, so her spinal cord. Okay, so those will be the 3 areas that I'll be working on for her. Okay, let's go ahead and begin. Okay, she is now in interlock. We will get started. Okay, deep breath in, deep breath out. Thank you very much, Crystal Princess, again for your request. Appreciate it. So healing has been sent to Carrie. You can always check on her if you're noticing some improvement down the road. You can always feel free to send me an email. You can just go to newearthteachings.com, go to the contact page, and you can always contact me there. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, so that wraps up our healing segment. We're now just going to go now into group healing. All right, so this is also for if somebody you know is going through a very, very difficult time right now. You can dedicate this practice to them all together. Okay, we're going to do something a little bit different today. Usually I would basically combine the release ball method together with the prana transmission technique, but we're going to try something a little bit new. And basically all that is, it's something even simpler in that sense, is we're just basically holding the problem, okay? All you're doing is holding the problem, bringing the hands together, forgiving it completely, letting it go. Nothing to it. Very, very simple. Okay, so I just want you just to give yourself a scan right now. I just want you to be aware of how you're feeling. And again, if you want to dedicate this practice to your friend or to your family member, if you know what they're going through, then that's something that you're doing. You're just absorbing their conflict into this ball. Okay, so again, don't let it be anything of a core emotional state, because that's something that they have to resolve. But if you notice they have a headache, if you notice they're having back problems, if you notice they have a knee problem or anything of that nature, right, you can put that problem into the ball. Okay. And that's all you're doing. So whether you're doing it for yourself or whether you're doing it for another person, you're just creating a ball here. Okay, so you're putting your hands here together. And I want you just to think of your problems. I'm just kind of talking to you as if your problems are in the ball. But like I said, you can put your friends' problems in the ball too. Okay, so just thinking of the problems, and as they start to fill the ball, your hands are expanding. Okay, I want you just to continue to fill the hands, just for as many problems as you can feel, either within yourself or that you're noticing through a friend or family member. Once you have filled all the problems that you are aware of, you stop moving the hands, okay? And all you're going to do right now is just take a deep breath in and out through the mouth. Try to empty the lungs. And I want you just to continue to do that. Like you're just breathing it in and breathing it out. And you're noticing that the ball gets smaller and smaller as you're breathing it in and you're breathing it out. And you just keep doing it until your hands are touching each other. Until they're basically in a prayer posture like this, okay? Once they're in a prayer posture like this, I want you just to put it to your chest, and I want you just to say the word forgiveness. That's all I want you to say, is just look at it. Forgiveness, 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 forgiveness. And you'll notice that your hands will just start to become softer. Feeling like the muscles are no longer tensing up, because when we're doing prayer posture, it's still pretty tight here. Forgiveness, 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 and you're just feeling the hands just starting to become lighter. Okay, as you have that sensation, just open it up. Okay, and that is forgiveness being given to all of the problems. Okay, and relax. That's all you got to do. Okay, so this is what's referred to as the forgiveness ball technique. Okay? Another technique for you. Okay, working with the forgiveness ball. Like I said, just bringing your hands together in prayer, just saying either out loud or in your mind, forgiveness, 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 forgiveness. Okay, let it out. And that's it. And you're done. Okay, so guys, try that. Let me know how you like it, right? If you enjoy that. Very, very simple. Again, I try to make these techniques as simple as I can for all of you. And the more that you guys are just participating it and you're enjoying it, this is going to encourage other people to try it as well too. I'm seeing a few hearts floating up, so that's great. Glad to see that. Okay, so again, guys, we're out of time for this week. Thank you all for joining me for New Earth TV Live. Like I said, I'll be back next week for the signposts, and I'll have the announcement as well too for the signposts coming together on Rumble. And then I'll be back next Friday as well too for another New Earth TV Live. And again, this Sunday, I will be doing another AETHERX live stream, so you can join me this Sunday. Again, here's the YouTube link, youtube.com/@AETHERX store. You can join me there, because again, I'll be giving some source laser pens, scalar technology, right? Source laser pens away as well too, and I'll have some very exciting updates for all of you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaskar. May it be well with all of you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Be well. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in to New Earth Teachings on YouTube. Don't forget to check out our websites, newearthteachings.com, where you can do private sessions with me, and also AETHERX.co. And through AETHERX, you'll be able to pick up your Healing Code Cards body deck, your mind deck, and your energy deck through AETHERX. You will also be able to pick up the Etherbed kit. That is also on AETHERX as well. Not to mention that you'll also be able to pick up some apparel and accessories that is also available on AETHERX. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next one. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, Namaskar, and may it be well with you.